Um, Thank you for having me. I I don't really know what I do. It's kind of a disclaimer, what I do here, and but I was curious. Um, what I'm gonna do, because I never really did that, but instead of talking of something important, I'm gonna talk about me. Also, part of the disclaimer, since there are competent people here, I'll try to be not accurate, to be sure to never be wrong, and to blend in the world. And also, I don't think art is politics. I actually think the opposite, but the way it's made and the way it's distributed and the way it's received might be politics. And we can do like in a game, when I'm out of the subject, someone can say stop, and I'm gonna try through experience, me, myself, and I, to see if it goes into the subject or the questions.
As long as anyone could remember, Lenny was a different kind of shark.
I don't know how else to say this to you, Lenny. You see something, you eat it, period. That's what sharks do. You gotta understand, when you look weak, it makes me look weak.
I know.
Right here in front of me now, eat this.
Oh, geez, Hop. Here's the thing.
I'm a vegetarian.
So this is not my work. What interests me here is so it's going to be for narrative purpose modified story. Robert De Niro is doing the voice of the mafia shark. When this movie was released, he was in Venice for La Mostra and was about to receive an Italian passport of honor. But the Italian Council, the Americano-Italian Council, culture, something like that, in the US started to sue him for mocking the Italian culture in this movie when he was getting the real Italian passport. And his answer was that in this movie he was a shark. So those kind of anecdotes generally interest me, and I guess that's why I was invited to fail the conference or to. This is a super old work from it's a bad work. It's part of a show, an early exhibition of mine. So there were those works with weird titles. And I'm going to read the press release. Neil Belufa forces us to undergo a cleansing and liberating immersion in a self-contained and playful universe paralleling our own, where what is incidental becomes a full-fledged object, and where these subjects are as likely to meet as two submarines or two satellites, which seems to happen rather often these days. So I like the writer, but I'm not sure we used the good words for that, because it wasn't really good, and I don't know what it means. This show on social media, when I had this exhibition that was in Milan, an artist insulted the show and me, describing those things as the work of a Tunisian migrant that threw his shit and said it was art. So then I got defended by other artists saying this was bad. But at the end, when you read that and you look at that, so we used the wrong words, he used the wrong words, but this was not good art. So and so out of a dominant position of someone that had the chance to be to have a public voice, I became a victim, which is the best position, a dominant victim. And this person was populist. But at the end, yeah, he could say it was shit. I'm going to show a small video, an excerpt of a small video, which is because of which I became an artist.
une étroite collaboration avec les deux, qui sont très côtoyables plus que les hommes, qui sont très sympas plus que les hommes. Du moment où la planète sur laquelle vivaient les hommes est saturée, je suis le seul homme qui vit avec des centaines de bœufs. Ils sont mes amis, je discute avec eux, nous causons ensemble et il y a une bonne entente entre nous. Hier, ma femme, la vache, elle a donné 2 petits veaux et le baptême c'est pour demain. L'orchestre viendra pour le baptême. C'est 5 bœufs qui ont organisé l'orchestre. Il y a des guitaristes, des pianistes, des bassistes. Donc la fête sera belle. Je suis le seul homme sur cette terre avec les animaux.
Les gens, ils ont commencé à communiquer avec les étoiles, avec les animaux. On ne sait plus qui est humain entre les matériels et les hommes normaux. Les motos parlent, les voitures parlent. La voiture, il y a quelqu'un à 100 mètres, elle essaye de faire attention, elle essaye de s'emplacer bien. La voiture elle-même, elle dit, bon, cette place, c'est un incendie, c'est pas bon, ça peut créer un incendie. Ce qu'on utilise, ils font les mêmes actions à notre place. Par exemple, tu parles, tu rencontres une voiture qui parle. Tu marches, tu rencontres une voiture qui peut déplacer toute seule. Donc c'est vraiment quelque chose qui est... C'est un véhicule, mais c'est humain quand même, tu vois. Parce que ça joue un rôle humain.
So this work is called, it's a series of interviews. It's called Kempinski. I did it when I was in the third year in an art school. So this project, it was a development bank in Mali, a French development bank that was had stuff in Mali, that did a partnership with my school to send art students to make documentaries there. Because maybe of a double identity problem in my head or adolescence crisis, I tried to bother my teachers because I didn't want to go in Africa and make a documentary. So I changed the rules and I used my second identity and changed the rules and asked people to talk about the future in present tense, presenting it as a kind of a finger at the Western expectations of a representation of Africa. Instead of bothering my teachers, they were super happy. And so I was lucky and started to do what I do because of that. And even when I was saying that this video was racist and not only exotic, because it's Africans in the jungle, and also what they describe is mostly internet, it worked. So a few years later, because I was bored of the power of the exoticism of that thing, thanks to the Institut Français, Because yeah, when you're French, there is something funny, is that foreign institution, but it works with many institutions that are here. We get shows because institutions in other countries knows that they'll get money if they invite you. So that's really what people say, and so it's good for me.
People are beautiful here. They have a really good work-life balance. They go to work, but they don't just do anything that provides them money. They have a lot of passions in life, and they try to live their life based on what they like doing and spend time with people who they love being with. And that's what makes life so beautiful here, because the people like spending time with each other. They love what they do, and their life is so full of colors.
There's a lot of different varying factors when you talk about best, because it's very subjective. How many places you know you can kayak in the morning, put your kayak away, go for a round of golf after that. After the round of golf, go down to the beach, lie in the sand, get some sun. After that, go home, get changed, have a shower, go for a quick bite on a patio somewhere, then go up to Gross Mountain, go skiing for the later afternoon. Once you finish skiing, come back home, have a power nap, get up, go out for a nice bite to eat on a patio and enjoy the views, and then go out and party at night. All in one day. I mean, that's lifestyle.
So it was my own response to the previous one. So one was supposed to be an utopia. So I tried to work with the liberal or neoliberal utopia, asking people to defend in a North American city their lifestyle as best as they can. In a kind of, so this guy is a real estate agent, obviously, and what interested me, so it was a bit of a criticism, a soft critique of a transparent vegetarian real estate speculative yogi culture. So I do installations to present that thing. And the more means I had, the bigger it became. And I made even domestic versions to fit in apartments, and then big ones when I had budgets. That moves and like a bus and do beautiful Apple screensavers on the walls. Why I show that, because this critique, I was lucky, and this big piece here was sold to a collector. And so a Chinese private person, and so he came to me once he bought that bus and said that he bought the piece because he recognized one of his buildings in the video. So basically my critique was his portrait. And then I said, but it's a critique. And he said, yeah, I know, it's fun. When you work not in a foreign country, you don't have l'Institut Français to finance. So in Paris, I did an exhibition in Palais de Tokyo, and we didn't have a budget. So the idea of the thing was to finance the project while doing it without having access to private at this time. or to public. So we built film sets for 3 films and tried to refinance the exhibition out of a decadent demolition party. Because the goal of the show was to make an image of what I felt was how the society was representing itself at this time, a bit of a Roman decadence. It was, I don't know how long ago actually, 6 years ago or something. So people destroy for free for me and buy drinks for me. So, and my goal was to at the end be able to pay a bribe to the director of the museum. But yeah, it didn't work because stuff got really broken and I discovered debts. But the I want to show the film. So one of the movies is called World Domination. We did a street casting by ethnicity, which is not really French because we don't have ethnic statistics. And I separated them by continent, and I said to everyone that they were president of their countries and that they had to solve a local crisis of their countries through declaring war. And that I show an excerpt. So at this time, China was the enemy. I don't know why.
Notre peuple, plus en plus riche. Le peuple gagnait beaucoup d'argent. Maintenant, c'est le grand problème, c'était comment dépenser l'argent. Ils sont allés à Paris acheter beaucoup de luxe. Oui, ça c'est le problème. Donc, il faut trouver une solution. Je ne veux pas l'Europe gagner d'argent par notre peuple. 所以这是一个非常急迫的问题，我们需要去。
So I made everyone speak in French as an imperial gesture, because anyone that speaks with an accent don't look serious. And then sometimes I let them speak in their language without subtitles to highlight that. So there is North America, South America, Asia, Africa, Europe fighting, and then I'm going to go to war. And so everyone defines the real problem of his own country. But, yeah.
Problématique puisqu'on l'exporte et on en manque. Aujourd'hui, on ne peut pas vivre nulle part sans gaz, fabriquer l'électricité, etc. Donc c'est vrai que si on va aller vers la rupture de ces contrats aujourd'hui, ça permet à notre pays de vivre mieux.
On sait que la guerre est polémique, ouais. Mais la guerre est pragmatique. Il faut absolument attaquer l'Asie. On attaque, on détruit leur transport en commun, on fait revenir les Asiatiques qui sont dans nos pays dans ces moments. Ils devront retourner chez eux. Comme ça, on pourra développer notre industrie, récupérer nos clients et faire travailler notre peuple.
Je suis pour l'attaque à l'Asie, parce que l'Asie, avec ses lois d'avortement à la chaîne, hein, c'est-à-dire que un droit à avoir un seul enfant par famille, a fait qu'il y a eu 10 milliers et 10 milliers d'enfants avortés. Ça fait que les gens ont peur maintenant de l'avortement et que le pays devienne comme la scie, alors que ça n'a rien à voir.
Évidemment, il y a toujours un problème entre Amérique du Sud et Amérique du Nord. On va déclarer la guerre aux Amériques du Nord. Et au début, on va faire une coopération avec l'Amérique latine.
Tu peux faire passer beaucoup de lois qui ne sont pas très sociales parce que c'est l'effort de guerre qui justifie beaucoup de choses. Donc la nation va se resserrer autour du combat contre l'ennemi.
La solution que je propose, le recours à la force vis-à-vis de ces pays asiatiques.
What was interesting to me is that, so with a simple game rule as you are president and solve a problem through war, everyone at this time decided to make war against Asian country or China. And slowly it became more and more racist in every side and violent.
Maintenant, il y a moins de demandes de fabrication de iPod, d'ordinateurs, occidentales. Donc, on a des taux de chômeurs jusqu'à 60%, surtout pour les jeunes. Entre les 18 ans et 20 ans, En même temps, étant que nous sommes un bon gouvernement, on ne peut pas tuer notre citoyen, ça c'est sûr. Donc pour moi, il n'y a que une solution. Ça veut dire qu'on a trop de personnes. Donc on va attaquer les États-Unis. Parce que, comme tout le monde savait bien, les États-Unis, c'est plus fort que nous. Donc comme ça, la plupart des jeunes vont mourir dans la guerre. Comme ça, on a plus de problèmes de chômeurs.
D'accord.
Donc ça sera mieux. Ouais, ça c'est la seule solution. On ne peut pas faire mieux.
So this girl actually is an architect, and she started complaining about European architects in China making eggs or pants, and then like he's quoting Mao without knowing it, or and slowly strategy starts to. So there is someone talking about a final solution, but for garbage, and it's strange. So basically, what happened is that often the mechanics of work, playing with tricks and relation to stuff, felt more and more weird. I was I was living in the US at one point, and at the same time I was supposed to do a show in a big American institution, the first contemporary art exhibition in Iran since Le Shah, a young contemporary or foreigner, and something in Ukraine and something at a private Chinese, and the French army proposed me to make a monument for them. This monument was for so they came to me saying they wanted a critical distance to make this monument, and it was a monument for the outside operation of France since '62. Precisely since '62, but there was a parenthesis saying maybe we will enlarge. So I was curious, so I tried to propose projects, also because it was a lot of money, but I was also interested in having a public impact and not an impact with society rather than working with people that I agree with and agree with me. And and the more the project I was proposing to them were complicated, or aggressive, or the more they were agreeing on it. I didn't understand the mechanics. I proposed 5 projects, and all of them, they were saying yes. And then at one point I said, you have to put the dead people of the countries you were in also. And they were saying yes to everything. Then I realized that I was going to get this thing, whatever I would do. And even when I was trying to get a critical distance, it was fine. It was really fine for them. And at one point, there were electromagnets that would block people from taking pictures or force authority. And I don't know, I tried various systems to bother, and nothing bothered. And so I said, like, I cannot do it. I apologized and said, because I told I can't. And then they felt that they censored me. So they said, you cannot not do it. And because it would kill the project also, because they thought it was because of their comments. And so I realized this system of, so at the end it went fine. They agreed on me not doing it, because I proposed really bad things. And but the loop of the critique, capitalizing on the critique you are called for, I'm invited to critique something, to attack it. It's the representation of an open system. So my independence, what I call independence, meaning I'm supposed to decide what I do, is a servitude in a way. So they invited me to criticize them because it would prove that they were open. And also in this agenda, what was interesting was that '62 is the independence of Algeria, so it was really good for them to have someone that have my identity to do it, I guess. This led to a project I did last year, and I think that's why I was brought here, which is called L'ennemi de mon ennemi. It's an exhibition in Paris, where we tried to find a system where the position of the artist as a good person versus the bad people, and the society of opposing any argument one to each other instead of adding them, would not work. So we decided to consider that Contemporary Art Museum, Museum of War, monuments, supermarkets, were all places of legitimization of power and propaganda. So I was doing propaganda for an institution, a neoliberal, globalized one. And so we considered all those things, and we tried to, so we took from, we copied or borrowed or made partnerships with many countries to have various point of views, and reproduced museums, monuments from everywhere, and made a system with robots that tried to find patterns of representation through that, whether things are from extreme right, extreme left, populist, neoliberal, from France, from China. Everything, nothing could build a speech, everything was fact and represented the way people were representing themselves. So here in the first, it's a show in Yemen during the revolution. So they use a music, they were making tents while being shot at because they felt to legitimize their movement, an exhibition was necessary. This is the boat that we stole on the shooting of Dunkirk. It's a real old boat that made the fake boat of World War II. This is an artist called Van Nat that survived S-21 in Cambodia. So he's one of the 13 survivors. He was painting portraits of Pol Pot, basically. So he survived as an artist. Then at the end, there were no image of what happened there. So he became the national hero by painting what happened there. So both sides, as an artist, working with power. This is a commercial. We try to find the strategies, actually, of representation. So the French army need to recruit people. So they did an advertising called becomeyourself.com. And then Battlefield, the video game, did another advertising called becomemorethanyourself.com that they were placing close to the army. And it happened that those commercials were at the station Crimea. And then the army sued Battlefield for mocking them. And Battlefield said they weren't mocking them, it was creative or something. This on the right, it's a Soviet propyle from the 39th exhibition, Universal Exhibition.
Thank you, Neil. I'm Linda Zackerson. I'm the culture counselor for Sweden to the US, based in Washington, D.C. since 3.5 years. And it was fascinating to hear about the culture counselor who sued De Niro. I promise I won't do that. Thank you so much for starting this morning, Neil, with drowning us almost in many different question marks and complexities and perspectives on what we're all working with and challenged with. Nation branding in a globalized time, and talking about and trying to work with promoting our countries in populist times when media is challenged and freedom of expression is challenged, and complexity maybe is more important than ever. I was thinking of a quote from James Baldwin, the American author and thinker. He said once in an interview that artists are here to disturb the peace, and that felt accurate to me, especially seeing the very aggressive film with the people speaking in French and declaring war. I was also thinking of power, also the power from the artist side, because you said you're a dominant victim, right? But as an artist, you always have the power to tell the story, and that's a very strong power, I think. I was thinking of colonialism and your perspective on that, and the post-colonialism, of course, and of consumerism and the romanticized modern society. I could hear in the words that the real estate agent, when he was talking about the Vancouver beautiful place, I heard some words that we are using quite often in the promotion of Sweden, talking about transparency, for example, and being very proud and using it. So I'm utterly confused right now. But I was also thinking of your power perspective and also being hijacked, and here comes a question finally for you. Being hijacked sometimes maybe by political agendas, and also becoming like an art mascot. I mean, you are so successful, and you do exhibits at MoMA and at Palais de Tokyo and so on, and you're invited to do these political or to do your work that is political and to stir up questions. But how has the success and your mascoting, like being here today, how has that influenced your art, if at all?
When I said the word victim, it was a joke. I'm dominant. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. The stuff at Palais de Tokyo was my reply to my position as this fake loop, the ping pong of that makes you turn and capitalize on your engagement, which is not an engagement if you know that the response is you getting something out of saying it's bad or something. But I try now to reverse my mechanic of work and go towards what I don't represent and try to be more and more gray and break my authority.
I'm glad we have a full day with experts and excellent thinkers and artists also to provide new perspectives on these issues. And I know we are very, very late already, so we'll keep this short. But I promised Lara that I would also make time for a comment on to Neil before we move on to the first panel, if anyone has a question or a comment right now. Do you? Yes.
I like the comment because I think it's very pertinent for culture diplomacy. I'm a practitioner as well as a theoretician about using representatives of certain ethnic minorities to somehow demonstrate that some countries are open, or to use the representatives of critical art to demonstrate that the country is, in peace with variety of perspectives. However, the film we have seen yesterday was a critique of the liberal white elites that are not providing enough space for ethnic minorities or for critical perspectives. Is there a way out of it for the political representations of the state to somehow honestly invite also other voices to the debate without, being in the position of being the one instrumentalizing the artist or the critical voice?
If I could answer that, I would be president or something. But the mechanics are virtuous, I guess, but essentialism is scary. And universalism, even if it's comfortable, is important in a globalized world. I don't know. But so it's like everything works and doesn't work, no?
Should that be the closing word?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.